Hey guys, welcome back to my next video of Bash Shell scripting tutorial for beginners. Now let's get started. So today we'll be learning the for loop. I'll show you the syntax. This is the syntax for the for loop. Now let's do an example. Let's give a variable name x. Let's say we want to print the first 5 integers. Now let's save and run this. So now let's see how this was executed. So for x in 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so what happens is the variable will be assigned the first value and then it'll come here, 2, then it'll print the value which is 1 and then it'll go back again. Now the value of x will be 2 and then it'll come down, it'll print 2, then it'll go back up. Now the value of x will be 3, 4, 5. So this is how you got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So now what if I want to print the integers from 1 to 20? So it is not practical to write it this way. So we can do it in a different way. Type in curly braces, the first integer and dot dot and the last integer which is 20. So this shows that we want the value of x in the range 1 to 20. So we'll go 1, 2, 3 till 20. Now let's execute this. So as you can see, it has printed 1 to 20. So what if I only want to print the odd numbers in this list? So one way is you can increment the value by 2. So if I put an increment statement over here, then it'll go from 1 to 3, then 5, 7 and so on. So when you're using for loop, there's a different way to increment. You can give dot dot here and the number you write will be taken as a value to increment. Say let's type 2. Now let's save and run. So first the value of x is assigned to 1 and then it prints 1 and then when it goes back it checks the value to increment which is 2. So 1 becomes 3 now. It'll come back here, it'll print 3. It'll come back here, it'll check again, increment by 2, then 3 becomes 5 and so on. So this is one way of writing the for loop. I'll show you another syntax. This is another way to write the for loop. Expression 1, here we will be initializing the value. Say I is equal to 1. And expression 2 will contain the condition. Say we want to print numbers from 1 to 5. So and expression 3 will contain the value to increment. Say I plus plus. Now let's save and run this. So as you can see, it has printed 1 to 5. So what happens here? So first the value of I is initialized to 1. Then it checks the condition. Yes, 1 is less than and equal to 5. So it comes down. It prints the value of I which is 1. Then it comes back again to the loop. Then the value of I is incremented by 1. So 1 becomes 2. And now 2 is less than equal to 5. That is true. So it comes down, prints 2. Then it comes back up. The value of 2 gets incremented to 3. Again, this goes on till 5. Now let's take an example of a variable that contains a string And using the for loop, we will print each word separately. So now let's save and run this. So as you can see here, the variable sentence contains a string. Then it comes down for word is the variable used here. So the variable will first be assigned the value hey, then I'll come down, it'll print hey, then I'll go back up, then the value of word will be assigned to guys, then guys will be printed, and then digital, Jinn, and here. So you guys might be wondering how Bash is able to separate the words. So this is done using something called the IFS, which stands for internal field separator. It is actually used by the shell to determine how to do the word splitting and to recognize word boundaries. So as we saw here, the space was used to separate the words in the sentence. So now let's see an example using arrays. So let's define an array class. Now let's save and run. As you can see here, it prints each element of the array separately. So now let's print each element with its index. So as you can see here, the index and the corresponding element have been printed. Let's see how this works. So first the array variable is initialized with the values. If you notice here, we have the exclamation mark here. So what this does is it'll give the indices. So which will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So first the value of I will be 0. Then it comes down here. Then it prints index 0. And this will call for the value of the element in index 0. And then it goes back up. Now the value of I will be 1. Then it comes back. It prints index 1. And then it prints the value of 1, which is Tesla here. Then it goes back up. And then it prints the element in the second index. And so on. So I hope you guys have understood how to use the for loop in Bash. Now let's learn how to use the until loop. So I'll write down the syntax. So this is the syntax for the until loop. So what this does is it keeps executing as long as the condition is false, and it stops when the condition is true. So now let's see an example. Now let's save and run. So as you can see, we got an infinite loop. So here the value of x is 1. So 1 is not greater than 10. So the condition is false. Since the condition is false, it comes and prints the value of 1. Again, it goes back. The value of x is still 1. Again, the condition is false. And this keeps repeating. So that is why we got an infinite loop. So now let's increment the value. Now let's save and run. So as you can see here, 1 to 10 was printed. So here the value of x is 1. So 1 is not greater than 10. So it prints 1. Then the value of x becomes 2. It comes back here. 2 is not greater than 10. So it prints 2. Then 2 becomes 3. Then 3 is not greater than 10. And this goes on till 10. So when 10 comes, then 10 is not greater than 10. Again it prints 10. Now the value of x becomes 11. Then it comes back here. 11 is greater than 10. The condition becomes true and hence it will be terminated. So we can also write this in double parenthesis. But as I have mentioned before, we'll have to change this to greater than simple. This can also be written as now let's save and run. So as you can see, we got the same output. So thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned for more.